Welcome to The Explainer. So today we're going to dive into a war, but not one fought on a battlefield. No, this one was fought inside the human mind. It was this bitter rivalry between two scientists that honestly changed everything we thought we knew about the brain.
So, where do we start? Well, our story really kicks off with this paradox, a real scientific puzzle that was born out of this super intense conflict, but somehow it all ended with the world's most prestigious prize. And it forces you to ask this really fascinating question, right? In science, how is it possible for two completely opposite ideas to both be right? I mean, can that even happen?
Okay, so picture this. The year is 1906. The Nobel Committee is getting ready to announce the prize for medicine. But the decision they've made, it's about to send absolute shockwaves through the entire scientific world.
Turns out, the prize was shared by two guys, Chahal Golgi and Santiago Ramon y Cajal. Now here's the problem. These two were, well, they were bitter rivals. They held fundamentally opposite views about the very structure of the brain. I mean, think about that. They were being honored together for work that led them to completely contradictory conclusions. Wild, right?
All right, so let's get into it. Let's really dive into their two competing visions for the brain, because this is the absolute core of their legendary disagreement.
Okay, so in one corner, you've got Golgi and his reticular theory. He basically saw the entire nervous system as this one giant, continuous web, like an intricate fishing net. Information, he figured, just flowed freely through the whole thing. No stops, no starts, just one big connected system.
And then, in the other corner, you have Chahal. And here's where it gets really good. In this beautiful, almost poetic twist of irony, he used the staining method that Golgi himself invented and saw something completely different. He came up with the neuron doctrine, the idea that the brain wasn't one big web at all. No, it was made of billions of individual, totally distinct cells. We call them neurons.
So let's just lay it all out, right? On one side, Golgi sees this continuous web where signals just kind of diffuse everywhere, and the entire network is the basic unit. But on the other side, Chahal sees all these separate little cells communicating at very specific spots, these specialized junctions. For him, the single neuron was the star of the show. So yeah, one unified web versus billions of tiny individual actors. Totally different worlds.
So, eventually a verdict had to be reached in the scientific community. And for a long, long time, we're talking nearly a century, there was a very clear winner in this whole intellectual battle.
And yeah, over time, the evidence just kept piling up, overwhelmingly supporting Chahal. His observations were just sharper, more precise. His interpretations were way more insightful. I mean, he masterfully turned Golgi's own invention against him. And because of that, Cahal's theory became the accepted truth. It was pretty much case closed.
And just like that, the neuron doctrine became the undisputed foundation of modern neuroscience. And this was huge. Focusing on the individual neuron, well, it unlocked entire fields of study. It let us understand everything from how a memory gets stored in a tiny little synapse to how certain diseases target very specific brain cells. It was, and I'm not exaggerating, a total revolution.
But the story doesn't end there. Not even close. Because in this absolutely stunning twist, almost 100 years later, modern science was about to give Golgi, well, kind of the last laugh.
Fast forward a few decades, we've got all these new tools, right? Powerful computer modeling, advanced brain imaging, and they revealed something just astonishing. It turned out, yeah, Chahal was totally right about the individual parts, but Golgi, he had this incredible, almost spooky intuition about how it all worked together as an integrated whole.
So what we know now is that even though all those neurons are separate, they managed to achieve this state of incredible coordination. It's amazing. They synchronize their firing patterns, they form these super complex feedback loops, and they connect across huge regions of the brain. And what does all that do? It creates these massive, dynamic networks that act like a single integrated system.
And this whole phenomenon creates what scientists call a functional syncytium. Now, I know that's a mouthful, but it's actually a really beautiful concept. All it means is that even though the brain's parts are physically separate, they can function as if they were one single unified web, exactly like Golgi had intuited all those years ago. It's kind of mind-blowing.
So, you're probably wondering, how on earth do we reconcile these two completely opposite ideas, right? Well, it turns out they actually fit together perfectly.
Here's the big takeaway. The brain is structurally separate. Chahal was right, it's made of individual cells,
But it is also functionally unified. Golgi was right too. It operates as one single integrated system.
You see, their rivalry was never really about one person being right and the other being wrong. What it really was two brilliant minds, each discovering one essential piece of a much deeper, complementary truth. And that synthesis, that combination of both ideas, is what lets us study things like consciousness and complex thought today. You absolutely need both the parts and the whole.
And all of this really leaves you with a pretty powerful question, doesn't it? It makes you wonder, what other established truths that we take for granted today are actually just one side of a much deeper story, a story that we just can't quite see yet?